be involved. You joined a franchise for a reason. If you wanted to be solo and not be bothered by anybody else, go start your own business. You just bought into a family, lean on your family members here. It's bigger than one location. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than the corporate. It's bigger than each location. This is a monster. We're all feeding this thing. Be a part of it. When I need to learn something, I'm not going to the guy that's stuck in the same corner that I am. I'm going to the guy that figured out how to get around that.
Yo, this is the Streetwise podcast. We're here to help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. Our main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready. Let's go.
All right, Streetwise Nation, we got Danny Horboychuk with Brothers That Just Do Gutters with us on the Streetwise stage today. Mr. Danny, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. Yeah. I have a lot of fun doing these podcasts and talking to folks. Coach me up, man. What's your role within the business, and how does that translate into your day-to-day?
So I've been with Brothers Gutters for 8 years now. I started, again, about 8 years ago in what we call a solutionist role, which is what our salespeople are called. So I got started with them, 8 years ago, and that role, did that for a couple of years, and then I moved into the sales manager role. These are at the corporately owned location, and I spent 2 years in that role. Moved from there into the general manager role, and again, for the corporately owned location, I did that for a couple of years. So I've had a lot of experience coming through the system with this brand. And then after that, I moved into the executive director role on the franchise side of things. I'd been very fortunate up till then. The two brothers that founded it, Ken and Ryan Parsons, had really invested a lot into me and really brought me into the franchise side very early on and kind of coached me on it and taught me about it. And up till that point, to me, franchises were McDonald's and Burger King. And, I didn't really understand how big this world was, how big yet how small, So as of the end of last year, I actually am now the brand president for the franchise.
So that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
A hell of a journey.
So what is the role of a franchise brand president? What does that mean?
So I'm working with all the teams here at corporate, and, overseeing all of them and helping guide the vision of the company and the direction we're going in. And, my job is to make sure that we're growing, make sure the brand is continuing to grow, to drive revenue with the franchisees, to help pitch that vision and really get this thing to that next level.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you foresee this happening? Is this something that you kind of set your sights on, that you're going to work your way up to?
I was a professional touring musician my whole life. So
Whoa.
I had no business background. I didn't do anything like this. I grew up, wanting to be a rock star. Went out and I did very well for myself. Was able to tour internationally, did the whole MTV circuit, all that. And at some point, my wife and I decided that it was probably, we thought we wanted to start having kids, and I would be away from home for 3 or 4 months at a time. And I said, I don't really want to have to reintroduce myself to my children quarterly. So
wow.
that was a big change for me. That was, I was in my 30s at that point, and all I had ever known was music. That's all I'd ever done. And I did well. I made a good living. I was comfortable. But with that change, I kind of had a reset at 30 some odd years old. And I took a job with a company for a while as an operations manager. And I was there for a while, but it wasn't really going the way I wanted it to, or it wasn't growing. And I met Ken Parsons. I was teaching music on the side out of a studio at my house, and he brought his son to me for lessons. And we get talking, and one day he says to me, you'd be a really good solutionist. I'm like, what the heck is a solutionist? And he's like, oh, it's a sales guy. I'm like, I don't want to do sales. And he's like, no, trust me, just come check it out. And I remember I came to the office and I met the team here, and I was just blown away. The culture is second to none. And I joke about it all the time. walking around desk to desk and meeting everybody. I said, either everybody here is high as a kite or this is the greatest place to work, because everybody was smiling and laughing. And that was it. I knew from that moment that I didn't care what I had to learn, what I had to do. I wanted to be a part of this. And again, I had no sales background, but what I did tell myself was, he sees something in me. He's built something really special here. He obviously knows what he's doing. I need to pay attention to that. And again, he sees something here with me. So it was kind of like a blind leap of faith. I didn't know how I would do at sales because I'd never really done it. I had no interest in it, but I knew I wanted to be a part of something special, and this was something special here. So I signed on, and I just made myself a promise. I said, I'm going to do everything that they tell me to do. I'm going to follow the system, and I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do. You know, I was so nervous coming into this. I literally was tucking cash away constantly. And I told my wife, I said, you know, if I don't make a single sale for 6 months, we're fine. You know, I had enough tucked away. We could get by. We can pay the bills. That's how confident I was in my selling ability.
Yeah.
But I came in, they have an unbelievable system in place, and I was able to be extremely successful at sales with the company. And then again, I listened and I followed and I asked questions, and I was just genuine curiosity about what is franchising, what is this all about? And they saw my interest, and they kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. And I just kept, anytime an opportunity came up, I never said no. You know, it was one of my sayings that my go-tos is always, life starts outside your comfort zone. And I've really kind of lived my life that way, including this endeavor here. I mean, I won't say no to things. If it's something new I haven't done before, I'm still scared going into some of these things, and I'm nervous about it, but I want to try as many things as I can. I want to learn. I want to experience different things. And that, with this company and these founders, they've given me that opportunity.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
So a couple things that I heard that I'd like for you to kind of dig into a little bit more and maybe expand on. So mentorship was super important to you. Somebody had to take a chance on you, but also feed into you. And that's huge. That's a big point of this show.
Yeah.
Second, you had to have a learning mindset. You had to be open to change, and you had to seek it. I'm curious, before you expand on those things and how that impacted your journey, how has failure and failing forward helped you level up to get to where you are right now?
Tremendously. I just had a conversation with Ryan, one of the founders, about that. And we were talking to one of our franchisees about this specifically, and emotional intelligence. And I said, one of the things I think that really helped shape me with this company was the guys would let me fail. You know, it's hard when you see somebody struggling. Your natural reaction is to step in and save them. You know, whether you're doing an interview and somebody can't answer the question the way you wanted to, what do? We step in and we help them. These guys have allowed me to stumble. You know, obviously, if it was going to get too bad, they would have reached in and pulled me up, and so I didn't drown.
Sure.
But they let me fail, and I learned a lot from that. It's helped create how I think about things going forward and how I mentor people as well. You got to give people the room. If you're constantly saving them, you're not letting them learn on their own. You're not letting them, spread their wings and fly.
What's going on, everybody? I hope you're liking the conversation this far. Please take a moment, give it a 5-star review. It really helps spread this out to as many people as possible. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Oh, that's big, man. That's huge. I know from my story personally, if I wasn't in the fire, there's so many lessons that I would have missed out on. And it also goes to a point in relationships, and back to mentorship. I'm a big believer, and I say this on almost every episode, it's our pain that leads us to our purpose. And so if I'm withholding pain from somebody that's in my circle or on my team, I'm limiting them from being able to achieve their purpose. So with that, how specifically did that mentorship, I mean, what did you have to sacrifice for those mentors, and not just in Brothers Gutters, but throughout your whole life? How has mentors and mentorship in general kind of played into your growth as a leader?
Well, I mean, mentorship started I started having mentors very early on in when I was doing music. I would always find. To, let me back up a little bit. What I
Yeah.
see that frustrates me is too many people. They try to find people to align with that have the same struggle as them. I don't want somebody that has my struggle. I want to find somebody that can get me through my struggle. The person that's going through it
Oh,
with me is likely not the person that's going to help me find the other end. So I'm typically the guy that's looking for who's at the next level. And no disrespect to the people that are at the same level and peers, because I have a ton of respect for them. But if I need the information from the person that's already been through it, I'm going to go to them. I'm not going to work with the people that are at the same level, because typically what happens is all that happens is you all complain to each other about what you're going through. And I'm
wow.
not getting the growth from that. I want to get to the guy that's already been through there, that's found a way out. It's like, if you're lost, you're not going to follow the guy that's also lost. You're going to follow the guy with the map. I'm looking for the guy with the map.
Yeah. Love
And like I
it.
said, mentorship has been that for me, whether it was with music or now with business. And I was able to take a lot of what I did back then and carry it over to this. And when I'm speaking to Ken, one of the founders, about that at one point, when he was at my house one time and his son was taking guitar lessons, we were speaking about something. I did a stint too where I was racing motorcycles in between. And I was talking to him about that. And I mentioned a frustration to me was that one of I call it an issue, but he says it's a good thing, is when I get into something, I need to research it to death and I need to climb as high as I can and see as far as I can. Fast forward, I had no idea that left a mark on him. And he actually brought that back up to me. He's like, that's the mentality that we're looking for. Somebody that's trying to climb as high as they can and get the biggest, broadest picture that they can possibly get. And he's like, and you talked about that as a struggle in something you were doing naturally. It had nothing to do with a job with us or anything like that. Just that's your natural response to things. And, so he saw that, and, he knows how to mentor me. He knows how to get me to that next level. And, he's always dangling that carrot because he knows that's what fuels my fire. I was literally moving into one office. As I'm moving in, he's already talking about the next position he's got planned for me as I'm moving into an office. I'm
Wow.
like, can I move in first? But he knows how to, and that's big because he understands me. And I think that's a big part of mentorship, is knowing what fuels that person's fire.
That is huge, and facts 100%. I'm a big sports guy. I was an athlete
Yeah.
growing up. I still think I'm an athlete a little bit, maybe not as much as I was 10 years ago, but I still got it a little bit. And so I like to relate sports and athletics to
Yeah.
business ownership, and I do it all the time. But I'm curious. I'm not a musician. I'm jealous of, and it's something I wish I had. And, one day I'm going to start working on it. Are there any correlations between being a musician and working with music and business ownership? And if so, maybe enlighten me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We have found that there's actually quite a few musicians within this company, and we kept trying to find what made
Interesting.
them successful here. And one of the things that I realized early on with myself was that musicians have to learn to turn it on. You can't have a bad day as a musician. When you step out on that stage, you have to turn it on. People are paying to see you perform. So you're not allowed
Wow.
to go out there and have a bad day. And that related directly to sales for me as well. Like when we would go and with the other musicians that are sales guys within the franchise here, they know how to turn it on. Things could be going completely sideways, but they get out of that car, they grab that iPad, and they walk up to the door and they turn it on like they're stepping out on a stage. And it becomes routine and it becomes second nature. And then when you're selling, that's really important, because that comfort level is the potential client. They feel that, they sense that in you. So if you're comfortable and you're in your zone, it makes that sale that much easier, as opposed to if you're unsure and you're fumbling around and you're just having an off day. So that's really helped there. And another thing with music was that you're trying to align a bunch of different people to a common goal, which isn't that what business is? You're trying to get a whole team
Wow.
pointed in the same direction. And music is the same way. You have all different personalities, and you're trying to get everybody to that same end goal. And it really, to me, it correlates the same way. So there's a lot of emotional intelligence that carries over.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That was good. That was good.
I would imagine it's the
That's
same with sports too, though. With a sporting team, your goal is the same thing. It's to get that ball down the field. It's to work together to make
oh
this
yeah,
happen, and very
no
similar.
doubt. No doubt. Yeah. Everybody has a significant and specific role to play. We have to stay in our lane, but we also have to complement the people that are next to us. We're all synergy partners moving forward with the key victory ahead. And my metrics and what I have to do are going to be different than yours, but together we're achieving the end goal and we're working. And I love though the thing that you said about not being able to have a bad day. And that's so
Yeah.
true. And I'm often so impressed when I'm a big play guy. I love Broadway. I love, musicals, and I love it. And I'm so impressed. These guys do 8 shows a week sometimes, and every single one is spot on. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to have a bad performance. And I think that's even
No.
bigger. That goes beyond sports because sure it relates, but you see athletes having bad days all the time. And no,
Yeah.
it's really cool. I appreciate that. I learned something just now. That was cool. In your role as a brand president, how important is it? And that's kind of loaded, so let me add on to it. Because I know it's important, how do you work to be intentional with building the culture of your team, not just with your internal corporate team, but also the franchisees that you bring into the system?
That was one of my biggest concerns when this whole thing started taking off. I was still in a sales role. And to me, when this first happened, my biggest concern was we have an amazing culture here and we're about to open the door and let a whole bunch of strangers into our house. How's that going to feel?
Wow.
And it's amazing to me that when we have our C days, our confirmation days, they come in and I get to sit with every group that comes through, and I'm sure we do it similar to a lot of other people, but we break them down and we have a corporate store here. So the potential franchisees get time to sit with each department and talk with them, and one of the things that I would always talk to them about is why us? I don't know anybody that was born and said, you know what, I can't wait to grow up and become a gutter guy. So asking these people, and we have them, coming from all different walks of life coming in here. There's white collar, blue collar, but it's the same thing across the board. It's the culture. It's the transparency that the brothers have created. It's super transparent, and we're all about having fun and having a good time. If you can't enjoy your work, why do it? I did that prior to here, and I worked for some great people, but it was a struggle to go to work every day. It's not a struggle when it's the right people and it's the right thing. And we joke about it a lot. Gutters is the smallest part of what we do. We're about marketing. We're about culture. We're about support. We just happen to hang gutters in between all that. But
There it is.
It's really so much bigger than that. And that's what it is. I mean, I think that's how we're able to maintain it. They all look to corporate for that. And when they come here, they come in for a couple of weeks worth of training. They get to live in it. They get to see it. And granted, and I tell all of them the same thing. Listen, you're buying a franchise. You're not buying a culture. We cannot sell you that. It's up to you to create that on your own. And no matter what you think, everybody has a culture. It's just, do they have a good one or do they have a bad one? There's always culture there. It's just, which one do you want? And some of them struggle with it. There's some struggle with leadership, but we do so much training and we offer so much leadership training and different departmental training that it's the ones that want to learn and want to get better, learn and get better. The ones that don't, they don't always work.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. I see that 100%. So I'm in the DFW area, and I'm out and about, and I just recently met a Brothers Gutter franchisee, Mr. Patrick Sweeney.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and seems like these guys are rocking and have a really cool story in what he's building. And I'm curious, what separates successful franchisees within your system from those that maybe struggle a little bit? Are there certain traits that somebody has that, because you said it and I know it, in franchising, people are coming from all over the place, but still, to do well with any particular widget, there has to be some traits that can correlate between one person to the next.
Absolutely. And we look at this a lot, and we keep coming up with the same answer. And it's going to sound super cliche, and I hate having to say it, but it's so true. You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Follow the system.
Come on.
Follow the system. The system works. It's been proven time and time again. The ones that typically struggle are the ones that try to stray outside the system or reinvent the wheel. And then we've seen it. Sometimes they fail if they can't correct it. We have an unbelievable support team that jumps in and helps as soon as we see somebody struggling. But if they don't stick to the system and they wander off it too long, it can be a real detriment. But follow the system. And the other thing is, be involved. You joined a franchise for a reason. If you wanted to be solo and not be bothered by anybody else, go start your own business. You just bought into a family. Lean on your family members here. This is about, it's bigger than one location. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than the corporate. It's bigger than each location. This is a monster. We're all feeding this thing. Be a part of it. Again, what I said earlier, when I need to learn something, I'm not going to the guy that's stuck in the same corner that I am. I'm going to the guy that figured out how to get around that. And in a system like a franchise system, you have all different levels. So there's always somebody that's a little further than you in some aspect of your business. So rely on that. Ask them, help me. Hey, how did you get past this? I'm stuck here right now. I saw that you got beyond it. What did you do to get there? So that's the biggest thing, are the people that are willing to open up and to be vulnerable and ask each other for help are the ones that seem to do the best. And they're also the ones that seem to share the most once they get through it.
Wow. Now, I totally resonate with both of those avatars. I'm a firm believer, and again, I say it all the time, the franchisees within the system are so important, if not the most important thing that comes from a franchise system when it comes to value add. Like, I know it. I've seen it. I've lived it as a Mosquito Joe franchisee going on year 9. And we just launched our new brand, Groovy Hues, last fall. I know it. I've seen it. But I still find it hard at times. You speak into that vulnerability piece. And when you're running a business, it can feel so isolating, like you're on an island. And often it's because the people that you're interacting with, whether they're on your team and you're the owner and operator and you're dealing with your team, or your family and the people that are in your other circle, nobody truly understands what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, except for the franchisees that are inside of your system. And it's just, I know I need to do a better job of plugging in. I'm curious, a lot of it, especially as we deal with these franchise owners that are building out bigger portfolios, whether they go multi-unit or they're adding a second brand. And now you're having to look at, maybe I have a regional director or a general manager. Have you found a way to maybe help franchisees galvanize or kind of rally their team in connecting to that same mindset? I find that not everybody is, me as a franchise owner, I can be open and vulnerable and want to seek that, but still my team, how do I relay that to the team so they share in that sense of collective learning?
ownership mentality. It's everything, really. And you're going to get that through transparency and trust, and you get trust through the transparency. So we encourage
There it
our
is.
owners to talk about everything, all your numbers, talk about them with your team. Because how many times have you talked to somebody and they seem to think that the owner of their franchise is making tens of millions of dollars on this franchise, when the
Yeah.
reality is it's not the case at all.
Nope.
By being vulnerable and opening those numbers up and showing them, you're going to earn their respect. They're going to realize that, hey, this guy's working a lot harder than I thought he was working, and he's not making anywhere near where I thought he was. So it's true. A lot of them feel like you're that big dirty corporation that's taking all the
Yeah.
money and they're getting nothing. When
Yeah.
they really see what the numbers look like, they have a different spin on things. And one of the things we've done here too is we always try to move up from within. I'm the
Love
perfect
it.
example of that. Starting as a sales guy for a local location to becoming the brand president 8 years later.
Wow.
That was because of the systems we have in place to develop people. I've come to them a lot and asked for more. Like, I want to learn more. I want to take a class on this. They've never said no. They've invested in me since day one at every single level, which has been fantastic. Whether it's taking, public speaking classes. I got my CFE last year. It's always been, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Keep growing, and we have a motto here that you have to be replaceable to be promotable. And one of the things that's
Wow.
hard for
Love
people to
that.
grasp, because when they think about it logically, they don't want to train somebody to replace them out of
They
fear
hold
of
on
being
to it.
replaced.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you hold on to it, how are you ever going to be able to get to that next level? You can't, because you're strangleholding where you're at and you're not letting anybody in. It doesn't work.
Wow. And that's true to franchisees themselves.
Yeah.
As they scale. Is that something that
Yeah.
you look for in the beginning, or is that a part of your process? I mean, I guess it just depends on what their ideal vision is for what they're trying to build. I mean, what would you say to that?
It is. I mean, again, it's really, we're not co-employers, so it's how they want to build their business is how they want to build their business, and we'll do everything we can to help them and guide them. But that whole concept of replaceable to be promotable, we discussed that from day one. I mean, we talk about that literally before they even sign with us at confirmation day. That's one of the things we talk about, and how that has been a big part of what's grown this business into what it is and where it's going. So that is something they're very familiar with. And we've seen it where we've had employees of locations that they've been there for a couple of years as an installer, and now they own their own location somewhere. They've gone through the system, they've worked, they've learned, and they've gone out and opened successful locations on their own now. So they've gone from an entry-level installer to, an A-level operator, essentially, franchise owner.
That is a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. That's really cool. And I love that you said that's something that you guys work into the training, and just to create that mentality, because there's so much identity involved in what we do every single day. And if I've invested in the business and I built this thing and I XYZ, et cetera, there's a lot of I in that. But the identity that you curate when you're walking that out every single day, once you start developing teams that are now replacing you within what you're used to doing, I know from personal experience, and I know from talking to other franchisees, that can kind of rock your soul a little bit, because the immediate thought is, well, now I'm no longer needed in this role that my identity is so tied in. And I don't know about you, but when I stopped playing football, I played football and ran track in college. When that ended, I bawled my eyes out, and it was months before, maybe even years before, I was really able to curate an identity outside of that athlete. And I know that translates into business ownership, because I've lived it too. I mean, what about you, kind of on your journey? Can you resonate with that as well?
Yeah, when I got out of music, I was very bitter.
Wow.
I made the choice to get out of it. I'd spent my whole life doing it, and it was a mutual choice between my wife and I, and she never pushed me to get out of it. I realized I needed to get out of it, but it left a bad taste in my mouth. I had spent my whole life working at perfecting something and working really hard for it. And, I did well with it, and I was on a great path. And I was mad at myself for, going, why did I let myself get so far down this path knowing that this could have happened? So yeah, there was definitely a bitterness there for that. It's tough. I mean, you have to separate who you are. You are not your business. Your business is not you. You are somebody that works for the business. The business is greater than one person. If your business is you and everything about your business, you haven't built a business. You built a job.
Wow.
You need to really, if you can't step away from it and have it run, it's not a business. It's a job.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. All right, real quick. What'd you play? What instrument? What was your thing?
I play guitar, I play bass, I play a little bit of drums, but bass guitar was my main.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome, man. All right, tell me a little bit. I almost jumped the gun because I got some stuff for you. But before we get there, tell me about the history of the brand and kind of walk me through where it's come from to
Sure.
where we're at now and then where we're going in the future.
Absolutely. So the brand was started by Ken Parsons. It was originally called Waterfall Seamless Gutters, and it started in '99, I believe it was the first year.
Okay.
Ken was teaching school. He was a school teacher, and he was doing this during the summer when he had off time, and realized that he really liked it, he enjoyed it, and he likes to say he threw his degree in the gutter, and jumped in
That's
full
good.
time with this. Yeah,
That's good.
he brought Ryan in. His younger brother was working for some early .coms, and when that era kind of fizzled out, Ryan came on as a temporary thing to help him, and then Ken has always been the visionary and Ryan the integrator, and they really defined those roles and separated that. And Ken had that big vision, and it was up to Ryan to make it work, and they accepted their roles and they were able to work with that. And it's unique because I've worked with families before, and it can be quite the struggle, but these guys have such a clear definition of what they're doing and where they're going. It's not there, it's just business is business. What do we do to get to that next level? So again, it started out with that. They did a rebrand in, I believe it was '09. They were doing a radio spot, and they were talking to somebody, and somebody mentioned to them like, hey, aren't you those brothers that just do gutters, or the brothers that do the gutters?
No way.
And it kind of, people started calling them that, nickname that. And when they came up with the concept of franchising this, they switched the name. They did a whole complete reimagination of the brand, and that's when the brothers just do gutters started.
Love
Since
it.
then, they had a couple pilot locations. They had a brother-in-law that opened one. Their dad opened another one to try to kind of prove the concept, and it took off very quickly. Again, we had some installers that were working for us that also jumped early to open their own. And then fast forward a few years, they created a relationship with Fastlane, franchise Fastlane.
Oh yeah.
And that opened the floodgates. So 2 years ago, we had 87 locations in 6 months added.
Wow.
Yeah, the growth was remarkable. It put a lot of strain on us at corporate. At that point, I was still running. I was running the corporately owned location at that point, and we're in the same building. I would walk through the building and see people that I didn't know, because we had to add people so quickly to ramp up. We have our own marketing department. I think there's 10 or 12 people in that. We have our own call center. So we field all the calls and handle all the marketing for the whole country. So we have 40 reps on phones every day, 7 days a week, handling the calls. We have a support department. We have training departments. We have, as it's grown, it was not, hey, we can get somebody to do that. It's like, okay, how do we handle that the best we can? And we've built these departments out. And again, like I said, marketing department, sales department, production department, training department, support department, full call center, are all in-house in our location here in Poughkeepsie, New York. So
Okay, that's
it's
awesome.
been,
So
yeah.
that's really cool. That's really cool. I want to talk about failures through that growth. So, I mean, I'm sure
Mm,
there are things that were crazy, but we grow through adapting, and those pain points
yeah.
are how we get better. So maybe talk us through, me and the audience, how, like, what it was like when you hit the obstacle, and then what it was like on the other side of it. Give me a couple examples.
Yeah. Well, I mean, systems are a big thing for us, and trying to,
Okay.
when we talk to franchisees, they love the systems that we have in place, but systems are tough too, because it takes you a while to realize if a system is the right system, if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. And we've had some big bumps in the road, with bringing in full CRMs, switching to something new that's supposed to be the latest and greatest, and rolling this thing out and having it fail miserably, and the damage control and trying to revert that as quickly as possible. The lesson learned there was, don't hold on to something due to pride. Just
Oh,
because you vetted this thing and just because you think it's the best thing out there, be willing to part with it if it doesn't go as planned, and do it as quick as possible. Don't hold on to something too long out of a stubborn pride. If it's fine, you spent a year researching something and working with a company and you think it's the best thing, but if you get that system in place and it's not working the way it should be willing to part with that and move on to something as quick as possible, so you're not sustaining that pain. Because again, at the end of the day, our job as a franchisor is to serve the franchisee. So I try to look at everything we do as for them. When we're doing marketing, I look at that like, these dollars are not our dollars. We don't own this. They're entrusting us with their money, with their 401k, with their remortgage of their house, with their life savings. They're entrusting that to us. That's super important. So we need to make smart decisions. And if we do make a bad decision, it's going to happen. Not everybody can make the right decision all the time. If we do make a bad decision, we need to move quickly. So to lessen the pain, to shorten that time that they're struggling. So that was probably one of the biggest lessons learned as this thing has grown, to really pay attention. And the other thing too is to not try to change things that people aren't asking for. Like, we'll look at a
oh,
system and be like, that could be better. If nobody's asking for it, find out what they're asking for and focus on that. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about them. They will let you
wow.
know what they're looking for. If they're not asking for something, that's not a pain point right now. Don't focus on that. Focus on where the pain point is and get that done. I'm sure you'll get to that other thing sooner or later, but at this point in time, that's not on their radar.
Oh, that's huge, man. That's huge, and that speaks to the integrity of what you guys are trying to build. I think people will hear that in the mindset that you have and how you answer that question. Okay, so moving forward, like big plays, big
Mhm.
things that are going on right now with the brand. Maybe hit
Yeah,
me up with that and how that plays into building into the vision and the 10-year plan of what you guys are trying to do.
sure. Absolutely. So we've recently gone under some big changes. As of last November, we are now in a partnership. We've been acquired by Riverside Private Equity,
Oh,
specifically under their eVive platform. Um, it could not have gone better. The situation we're in is tremendous. So the two founders have not left. They're still heavily involved. If anything, they're probably more involved now than they were the last year or two prior to that. So Ken, the older brother, is involved with them on a mergers and acquisitions side for the Evive platform,
okay.
to help build the platform out with a focus on home service brands. There's some other brands in there right now, but they're typically more healthcare related. So they're looking to bring in more home service brands into this platform. On the other side, Ryan, the other brother that founded it, is now been appointed to the CEO of the Evive platform. So again,
Wow.
there's still heavy involvement there
Yeah.
between both of them. And again, they're probably more involved than they were prior. So in my situation, I was in the executive director role a year ago. Now I'm in the brand president role. I'm still reporting to the same person, just at another level. He's in another company that oversees us. So we've been able to maintain that relationship and this culture across multiple brands at this point now, which has been huge. So we're really looking to work with them on bringing this to the next level. And obviously they're looking to work with us on bringing some of our systems into some of their other brands to help them as well. But I'm excited to, I enjoy working as a collective with multiple people. I love brainstorming. I don't want to be the guy that brings the idea all the time. I want to be the guy that adds to an idea, that helps with an idea, that
Wow.
collaborates on an idea. I love that. So as you can bring more people in, there's just different views are what excite me. When we're talking about something and somebody brings in something outside the normal thinking pattern, that's when I get excited. I like that concept of like, okay, this is how we've always done it, but this guy over here has an idea that's completely different, that turns this whole thing on its head. What can we do with that? And I'm excited to work with team members now from Riverside and Nevive to kind of get some of that in here too, to bring in what they've seen and what they've done into what we're doing as well.
That's super interesting and really cool. I could just to speak into that. I know what it's like to be the guy bringing the ideas, and that can be draining, because as a visionary, most of the ideas in and of themselves, if taken literally, probably aren't good and probably won't work.
Yeah.
But I challenge my team on a consistent basis to treat me from the lens of I speak in concepts. And when I'm throwing these ideas at you, I need you to be creative with the idea, because the idea in and of itself might not be what we go with, but me saying this and planting this seed might spark the person across the room to have a thought. But going back to what you said earlier, it's teaching the team to have an ownership mindset. And I know, just on my experience and how I talk to a lot of franchisees and leaders just in general, I think struggle with that, but they're also holding on to the vine and they're trying to own the entire pie. Where for me, I've always been an advocate of, I don't need to own the entire pie, and I will give slices of it away if we can make the pie bigger. And with the bigger pie, I don't need to own the whole thing. And there's so much value in that. That's really cool. And I'd
100%.
like to hear, I'd like to hear like your feedback on that, but also, moving into the next question would be, what are some fears that, people typically have when it comes to private equity that through your experience, you guys have been able to navigate through, and, maybe it hasn't been that bad?
Absolutely. Just to touch on what you were just saying, though, one of my favorite sayings is all of us are greater than one of us, and that's kind of how we approach this stuff. Like when we have these meetings, I want as much input as we can get in there. But to touch on your next point, the private equity, quite honestly, I was nervous too. You'd heard so many different things, and I didn't know much about it. But when it finally came the day when they came into, we had a town hall here, and they came in to introduce themselves and talk about what was going to happen. I remember talking to the CFO of Riverside, and I explained to him the concerns that, some of the stuff we're hearing, and his response to me was, listen, it's unfortunate that type of stuff does happen, where people, they come in and they cut heads. He's like, but you got to keep it in context too. Those type of situations at times are necessary. But in this situation, we're not buying a failing business. We're buying a business that's on the launch pad taking off. Why would we change anything?
Wow.
We came to you guys because you have something really strong. We're watching it explode. He goes, but that other situation, that situation does exist. It's real. But that's when you're coming into a business that's been struggling. They're not doing well. And there's typically a reason why a company is not doing well. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to go in and make changes to get them to perform the way you want them to perform, or the way they should perform. But that's not always the situation. And what we've experienced here, the team, I don't think I could have picked better people to work with. if you gave
Okay.
me the option to go out and find them.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate that just some amazing minds and some amazing people. And I'm super excited about this team and moving forward with them because they bring so much to the table, but they also, even more important than what they bring to the table, what they value in us and what they see from us that we can help them with is phenomenal. So it's not all a give from them. It's a give and take, which feels good because I don't want to feel like I'm bringing nothing to the table and they're only doing things to make us better. I want to feel like we're offering something to them too, to help them on another level, because otherwise I don't feel productive.
Yeah, and there's a lot of affirmation and validity to the situation when it feels like it's going both ways. There's
Yeah.
longevity that can
Yeah.
survive whenever you're getting value back from me and I'm getting value from you, and this is a mutual relationship. Yeah,
It's
no
balanced.
doubt.
The relationship is balanced
Balance.
at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a big believer in it's our pain that leads us to our purpose, and it's through suffering and going through hard times that help us to grow, but also help us figure out kind of what we're here for. So for you personally, I'm interested in hearing, what real big pain points have you gone through, whether professionally or on the personal side, that has really helped define who you are, but also who you're here to help and what you're trying to build.
Ooh, that's a tough one. um, it's hard. I mean, I guess I don't associate pain the same way maybe as most people. I'm like, I look at my life and people ask me all the time, do you have any regrets? And I don't. Are there things I could have done different? Probably. Would I have? Probably not. Because everything
Wow.
I've done in my life, every decision I've made, good and bad, has put me where I am today. And I love where I am today. And I'm super happy with where I am today. So if I could go back and change any one of those things, it may have altered the course of where I am. So everything I've done in my life was done for a reason to put me in the position I am in now. And I'm very happy where I am now. So I wouldn't change anything. And if pain was part of bringing me to this point, I guess maybe there's good pain and bad pain. But I wouldn't have changed any of that. I guess I just view pain differently in that aspect, as like, you know what, it was necessary. I needed those things to put me where I am, and some of them were uncomfortable. Absolutely. But again, like I mentioned earlier, to me, life starts outside your comfort zone. So I make a point of putting myself in uncomfortable situations to learn and to grow and to get better and to try to get to that next level. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
No, that's good. I appreciate the answer. Um, what about when it comes to your personal legacy? And anytime you step into a role like this, I can see that taking a big chunk of your mental capacity. But I'm interested in how you see, just based on where you came from and where you're trying to grow, what are some big key things that you'd like to see on a personal level in the next 3, 5, 10 years, however you want to interpret that?
Yeah. So the personal legacy thing, it's so funny. Like, I feel like you need to get to a certain point in your life before that becomes
Yeah,
a thing.
sure.
Um, I had focused so much on just me and my family, and that over the last couple of years, as I've learned to grow with this company and seeing how much they poured into me, it really, at that point, is when I guess I kind of started thinking about, like, okay, it's my turn to invest in other people, and I try to do that as much as I can. And I guess I'm not so much worried about my legacy. I'm more worried about, like, the people around me. What can I do to help them become better, what they want to do? And I guess that is legacy. um, but yeah, when I'm gone, I'm not worried
Yeah.
really about me. I'm not going to know what people think at that point. I just want to make sure the people around me and that I could have helped in some way, shape, or form, that I was able to. Like, I have two daughters that are 12 and 16, and I look at them, I'm like, man, the world is so much easier to start doing what you want to do at a younger age. As you get older, the fear of failure and having to start over gets harder and harder and harder. I know how hard it was for me in my 30s to restart something, you know. But it's tough too, because I mean, think about it. If you would have went down the path where you thought, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life from when you were 15,
Wow.
where would you be now? You know, I know for me,
Yeah.
it's a different world. Um, but it's tough. So legacy is, I don't know that I fully have my mind wrapped around it, because I'm not as concerned about me. I'm more concerned about what, the system and the people, the team around me. We have a lot of young players on this team here. I'm the old guy. I've gotten to that point in my life where, I'll be 50 years
Congrats.
old this year, and we have a very young team, and I'm the old guy. So it's fun to be able to talk to them and help them see what they want and where they want to go. So I guess if I was worried, if I was trying to picture what my legacy would be, I want to be thought of as the guy
Yeah.
that was there to help, to guide, to answer questions. I mean, I can't take credit for that. It's not my journey. That's their journey. I just want to be there to help them in any way I can, and to, I guess, make it easier for them, but still let them fail on their own. That's what worked for me. And I feel like that's the best method. People need to learn failure's not a dead end. Failure, as you said, failing forward. Failure is the ability to find out how to succeed. You need to fail to learn how to win. So, I guess that would be my legacy if I wanted it to be written out, was the guy that helped me learn how to fail.
Love it. And
to
I
win.
love the way you answered the question. I think it's different for everybody, but the fact that you were able to internalize, I'm big on ego, and I got it behind me here. Patrick Lencioni has a concept of the ideal team player: humble, hungry, and smart. And the humble piece is,
Yeah.
where's your ego? Is it inside of you and all about me, or is it within the understanding that you're here to build something that is so much bigger, and you are just a piece of the bigger puzzle? And we talked about that, and so it's really cool. It's really cool. I also love how much EOS, entrepreneurial operating system, you guys got. I'm big on that over here as well. But Mr. Danny, I really appreciate your time, man. As we wrap this thing up, what would you say to the individual, whether they're a franchise candidate, whether they're a 15-year-old high school student, whether they're 60-year-old contemplating the next phase of life, but they're considering taking that step and getting off of zero, but they're hesitant? What do you say to that person to give them what they need to take that first step?
Trust in yourself. If you're going to trust in anything, trust in yourself. That's the one thing that you have total control over. You can put your trust in outside sources, but you really don't have any control over those. So if you trust in yourself, the only way you could fail, it's on you. And that was important for me coming into here. I had to take that blind leap. I had no background in any of this, and I just looked at myself in the mirror and said, listen, nobody's going to believe in me more than me at the end of the day. I need to go out there and do this. And success or failure, it's on me at that point. And it's, how hungry are you? How bad do you want it? If you want it bad enough,
Amen.
You'll find a way to get it. So take that step, trust in yourself, take the step and go for it. We only get one shot at this. Get outside your comfort zone, and push, because that's where all the great stuff happens.
Love that. On that note, man, I'm going to let you get back to your day. I appreciate you so much for the value add to me, to the audience. If there's ever anything that you want to come chop it up on, you are more than welcome on the Streetwise stage, man. Yeah, no doubt. But to the listener, Thank you so much for listening. If you guys are interested in the brand, the Brothers That Just Do Gutters, holler at me. I'll introduce you to the team. And as always, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.